Hey there, I'm going to try and readjust my screen a little bit so you can see a little bit more. And I have my dog kind of in the middle of the space that I will be working in. So let me go ahead and scooch back and we can start talking about what the plans are for today. Yeah, I'm moving. So, based on the title, we're kind of working more with warrior poses today because there's a really fun sequence I like to play with. Uh, really helps build up some strength, but also does give us a little bit more shoulder opening. We'll be moving through a lot of warrior one to warrior three progressions, as well as throwing in a humble warrior pose. We'll talk about those and, of course, move into different ways to progress to that to help open up the shoulders to make um, humble warrior a little bit more accessible, but also really working on balance. There's a 90% chance that she will move once I start going. There's also that 10% chance that I will be moving around my dog the entirety of this practice today. So, with that in mind, we shouldn't really need a whole lot in the way of props today. Just realized that's over there. I'm going to grab a block just in case, just to kind of help demo a few different ways to move through Warrior 3 pose. Now, make yourself comfortable. You can grab this block. If you have a block, if you have a book or a bolster, you can also use that too. I'm just going to sit on the block. It's just going to help elevate my hips a little bit. Sit crisscross that way. And I'm just going to start by closing your eyes, focusing on your breathing here, coming to whatever intention you want to. I think she's snoring on my knee right now. If you are somebody who likes to set an intention for your practice, please feel free to do so, whether that is a positive affirmation of I am enough, I am present, I am safe, or a word you're trying to help cultivate in your life. I tend to normally stick with patience. I know I always need to work on my patience, so that's always a good one for me to focus on, is being patient in a posture, not rushing it, not rushing to get into or out of the posture, but patience in day-to-day life. It also might be maybe acceptance. This is where we're at today. That's okay. If you're somebody who does not like to set an intention for your practice, you don't have to do so. I do encourage doing either some sort of breath count or focusing on how your breathing feels, just as a way to keep you a bit more present in your current practice. Really just a way of saying, keeping you from starting on that to-do list, that mental to-do list that we all have been. As you can see, I have a mental to-do list over here of I need to do my laundry. Those are all clean, I promise. I just haven't hung them up yet. By giving myself an intention, by counting my breath, by just focusing on how breathing feels, it allows me to come back whenever I start going, do, okay, I need to do this, and this. It allows me to back away from that ledge, acknowledge that I had that little side quest, and come back to my practice in the current space. As with every single practice, this is your practice. Do with it what you need. If you don't need as much as I'm giving today, that's fine. Don't take it. If you need more, do more. I can always give more options. And if you want to send me a message, I'm more than happy to help customize ways to tweak your practice. Like if you're dealing with something physical, like, oh, that pose doesn't feel super awesome for me. Let me think of another way to work through it. I'm more than happy to help. When referring to that breathing pattern, and come back to that, I don't teach a very pranayama breathing focused practice. As long as you are breathing and knowing that you're breathing and giving yourself that deep, full breath, not that shallow chest breath, it's cool. If you want to take Ujjayi breathing, that's that Darth Vader breath sound, that constriction of your back of the throat. Inhaling for a count of 6 through your nose. Exhale through your nose for about a count of 6. It just lends a nice audible quality to your breath. Now, continuing to settle here. If you need to do any fidgets to kind of get yourself settled, Wiggle the shoulders, maybe give yourself a few little neck twists. Allow the hands to settle. Like you sit however feels comfortable for you. This feels comfortable for me. I did not bop you on the nose, Willow. You're fine. Maybe pet your dog or cat if they've come by. I don't know if your spouse would appreciate you petting them if they come by, or your kids. Set your intention, set your breathing. And as we move through, you're always welcome to hold a posture a little longer or start backing out of it. I like to hold for about 6 breaths. You can bump that to 8 to 10. You can bring it down to 5. 6 is just enough time for me to settle, feel it, and then back out. That is my personal preference. Yeah, you can sound exasperated with me, dog. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start in a tabletop. So knees are going to come underneath those hip sockets, wrists under elbows, under shoulders. And we're going to move through cat and cow here. So allowing the belly to drop down, gaze come up. Push that ground away from you, curl that spine in. Big ol' upper body stretch. Move with breath here. Moving through this maybe 6, maybe 8 times, just depending on how stiff you are. Maybe you had a lot of desk work beginning half of the day. Maybe you didn't. Either way is fine. And then start throwing in some additional moves. As you can see, I'm kind of getting some side body stretches in. I like to throw in a lot of shoulder rolls. And getting into the hips and the rib cage. Just whatever movement here feels good. Kind of almost jam it out. We're going to give our wrists a little bit of love today. So you can go one hand in, fingertips spinning in towards your knee, whole palm down here. You can do both at the same time, one at a time, whatever feels more comfortable. I like to kind of shift back and forth, kind of a little bit like a metronome. Very slow metronome here, getting a nice stretch along those forearms. We're going to spin, bringing the backs of your hands down, fingertips still pointing in. Bend your elbows as much as you need to, so it's not like a sharp pressure, but more like a gentle stretch. As you need a deeper stretch, straighten those elbows. Or you can even start to bring your hips back towards your heels to continue to deepen the stretch. I like my little metronome pulses. You don't have to do it. I just enjoy it because it helps me feel like I'm moving a little bit in the posture itself. I'm going to bring my hips to my heels. I'm going to intertwine my fingers together. Scooch a little closer to the screen. I'm going to intertwine my fingers together. So hands, boop, make a little fist. You can try and keep your elbows together. You don't have to. If this isn't comfortable on your shoulders, don't do it. And if it limits your motion, don't do it. You can just allow the elbows to be a little heavy. And we're just going to start with some counterclockwise circles, about 8 in each direction, then take it clockwise. If you started clockwise, just go counterclockwise. Yeah, am I disturbing you now? And we're going to start doing those little figure 8s. I like figure 8s. Essentially, I'm bringing my pinkies in front of me and to the right, scooping them to the left, bringing them back, just making little figure 8s. Or infinity signs, whatever you want to call them. Try. Fun thing is, try to remember how to do it in the opposite direction. There we go. You get so used to doing things in one direction, it makes it interesting to take it back in that opposite. We're going to shake out the hands. Just shake them out. Nothing crazy. If you want to give yourself I like them like juicing fingers where you just reach out, squeeze your fingertips together. It's kind of like you're juicing an orange. I think she's gonna go sunbathe now. Give yourself a few little wrist circles, little flutter wrists. Rather than starting by going directly into Sun A, which is what we have been doing, I'm going to help encourage a little bit more movement in the hips to start. So coming back into that tabletop posture, we're going to do a little baby core sequence to go with it. Right foot's going to come out to the side. We're going to rotate that whole foot down, try and square the hips up. Should get a lot of stuff going on that inner thigh here. From here, as it's comfortable, again, squaring those hips up, you can start to shift the weight back towards your heels. Keep inching back. We're going to be here a little bit longer. Again, if you need more, start to bring those hips back towards your heels, thinking more about pushing the hips back versus sinking the chest down. I don't want this with your knees still stacked. We want to push the hips back before your chest starts to come down. A few more breaths here. As you're ready, shift forward. This is going to go into a little bit of that core sequence. I got to make sure I don't hit my table. Use that core strength to pull yourself up. We're going into gate pose. So gate pose, make any adjustments you need to. We want to pull the hips up underneath your body. So we're getting nice and tall, nice and stacked. Arms are going to reach out to the side. Nice strong gate pose. I'm still pressing through my heel here, or my whole foot. Getting nice and tall, nice and long, really pulling up out of my low back. Shoulders will relax down here. This is going to feel very similar to what Warrior 2 will feel like. We're going to reverse. So we're going to allow that right hand slide down that right leg. Left arm reaches up. We're just going for a nice big pull stretch here. So it's almost like I'm grabbing something on the ceiling and pulling myself up. We're going to move back through, gate. We're going to seesaw over, allowing that left hand to touch down, coming into a supported side plank. Now, if your wrist is feeling a little funky, rather than going full palm, you can come up onto your fist. Nice and stacked here. This is where we're going to get a nice little stretch by lifting that right leg, kick that heel in towards your bum, right hand drops to catch. Pull your right heel in towards your bum here. This can get a big stretch along that front part of your quad. I get a little bit into my knee here, but nothing crazy. Release. Hover here for a little bit, really squeezing the glutes, keeping that foot nice and active. So my toes are really flexed towards my face here. I'm gonna come through. Boom, back into gate. Fold forward. Little pit stop in child's pose to take some pressure off the knees. So we're going to keep knees together, heels together, fold forward. Few breaths here. And we're going to come back into that tabletop. Right knee is going to stay stacked underneath you. Left leg's going to go out. Willow's going to get a little boofy. I think someone's outside. Yep. Whole foot rotates down here. We're going for that nice deep inner thigh stretch, especially if you did Monday's workout from that side lunge. Might feel a little bit more on the inner thigh today. Maybe. Push back as you need to. Still thinking more of squaring up those hips, keeping that foot down. If you're wondering what your right foot should be doing, my toes are curled under here. They can be flat if you want them. I like curling my toes because it gives me a little extra stretch along the bottom part of my foot. Personal preference here. Few more breaths, just really getting a nice deep stretch here. My left side, I can automatically go much deeper than I can on my right. That's why I was able to go back so quickly. I try to even it out. Weight will shift forward. We're going to use that core strength and come up into our gate pose. So we're still keeping the hips tucked underneath. So you're not letting your butt poke out, getting a big old curve in your low back. Pull the hips underneath, still pressing through that whole foot. Lift up nice and tall, like someone is trying to pull you up by your rib cage. Getting a nice tall posture. On your exhale, allow those shoulders to relax down your spine. Imagining that like there's ropes on either end of the rim and I'm pulling myself apart here so I'm getting nice and tall while I'm getting nice and wide. That left hand's going to slide, right arm's going to reach up. So we're really thinking pulling up through here. If it helps, you can keep your chin kind of tucked. I personally like to lift, not looking fully up to the ceiling, but more looking towards where your ceiling and your wall meet. If I look up at the ceiling, I put more strain on my eyes and my neck than I want to. If it feels good for you, do it. Come through, got our little pit stop, and we're going to seesaw over, coming into that side plank. And again, you can be full palm on the ground or you can come up onto your fist, whatever feels better. For some reason, this always feels better if I'm on my fist. Getting that nice little hip stack. Float that left leg up. We're going to go for that quad stretch. So my heel's going to kick in towards my bum. Left hand goes into catch. I'm pulling my heel in towards my bum. Here, gaze is again wherever it's comfortable for you. You're probably looking at the screen. I'm allowing my eyes to travel up again to kind of where my ceiling and my wall meet. Release. I'm going to hold here just a little bit. Not too terribly long. Just a few breaths. Feeling my bum squeeze, getting a little bit of strength here. Making sure I'm not letting my hips kind of sag, really keeping them nice and stacked. Let that knee touch down and come around to the front. Coming back into that tabletop. Now to take the pressure off our knees, we're going to go down dog. Curling those toes, lift the hips. Chest pushes back here. Bend your knees if you need to. Pedal out those feet. We're going to be here for about 6 to 8 breaths. Believe it or not, this can be a resting pose. It's kind of hard. I hope you guys can hear me. We're going to be here 6 to 8 breaths. High plank. Knees, chest, and chins. Drop down to the knees. Keep the chest in, chin. Hold through baby cobra. Just a light little lift up the chest. Oh my God. My phone's going nuts right now. Press through the hands, push back. Tabletop into down dog. We're going to walk the feet towards your hands. Nice deep forward fold here. I'm going to take a side angle so you can see a little better. Bend your knees as much as you need to. We don't want any pressure in the back. So if you're kind of doing this, trying to focus on straight legs, and you're hanging out more here with the rounded back, not what we're going for. Bend those knees. Straight back. As you need to, you can start straightening those knees a little bit. Oh, my hamstrings are tight. Inhale for that halfway lift. Exhale, fold. We're going to reach to rise. Head comes up last. Walk those hands up your legs if it helps. Big reach up overhead. Hands through to heart center. Nice strong mountain. We're going to go through the sun salutation A 3 more times. One time, I'm going to talk about how to shoot your feet back, going from that's halfway lift, bending, getting your hands completely on the ground, and landing in that chaturanga where your elbows are already bent at 90 degrees. The difference between up dog and cobra. On those next 2 rounds, I'm going to show different variations where you can lift a leg. Make it a little bit harder if you want it. If you don't want to make it harder for yourself today, don't. You don't even have to go through a flow if you don't want to. You can meet us back in down dog. So, inhale, big reach up overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend those knees, plant those hands. Back into that chaturanga. Pull through, up dog. Up dog, the quads are lifted off the mat here. Press back, down dog. We're going to inhale, bring your gaze between our fingertips. Step, jump, hop, or float to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. We're going to reach rise. Head will come up last. Big full body stretch up overhead. Heart center, strong mountain. So I'm going to swan dive with my next 2. So I always wanted to sneak in a little bit more core work where I can. It's nothing crazy, just keeping that core tight and engaged. So we're going to lift up nice and tall. Exhale, hands are going to come out by our side, chest leads, swan dive forward. Inhale for your halfway lift. Exhale, we're going to fold, plant those hands. I'm landing 1 foot up. Pull through. We're going to go more cobra here. So my quads are down. Shoulders are pulled down my spine. It's a little bit more back. You get a little bit more quad when you're in that up dog into down dog. Gaze will come between the fingertips. Step, bend, jump, hop, float. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Reach to rise. Head comes up last. Full body stretch up overhead. Boom, boom. One more time. So my right leg is what was up. Pretty certain it was my right leg. I'm gonna jump back. My left leg's gonna be up this time. Inhale, big reach up. Exhale, I'm swan diving forward. You can fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, chaturanga. Up dog, down dog. Take a breath or 2 here. We're going to take probably more than a breath or 2. We're going to go right leg warrior 1. Right foot will step through between your hands. Back foot, about a 45-degree angle. Pull that right hip back, left hip pushes forward. Hands can be at your heart here as you set up. So I'm going to pivot so you can see a difference in my feet. Although I'm about as tan as my carpet is, so you might not see as much as I want. So you hear heel to heel to heel, or heel to arch alignment. That's really going to depend on how open your hips are. Heel to arch tends to be a bit more strenuous on the hips. If you have slightly wider hips, it's a little harder to get into that position. Heel to heel, for me, has always been more comfortable. It allows me to really focus on pulling my right hip back, pushing my left hip forward. Boom. That's why you hear heel to heel or heel to arch. Everyone's body's a little different. So we're in that nice, strong warrior 1. 90-degree bend. If I look down, I can see my big toe. But if I can't see my big toe, it means my knee's collapsing in. Push out midline of your foot. Boom. Arms can reach up overhead. Shoulders pulled down. Rib cage. Give you a side angle here. I'm not allowing my rib to flare open. I'm pulling that rib cage down. I'm staying nice and stacked. I'm working up a hell of a sweat doing this. We're gonna fold. So we're taking that pivot out of our back foot. Step back. Option of flow. Meeting back and down dog. We're gonna go on that left side. So left foot will step through, back foot will spin. Take your time to set up here. I tend to go hips on my thigh. I will manhandle myself into what I feel is proper positioning. So you'll often see people, bam, I'm here, and they're kind of janked. I'll take time. I set up my feet. Okay. Then, all right, I'm here. Boom, boom. It's a little more methodical. It takes a little more time to get into the posture. But as much fun as it is to be, bam, I'm here all the time, give yourself permission to grow your roots, set yourself up, develop your base. We're going to fold forward. Take that pivot out of the back foot. Option to flow, but we're coming all the way on your belly here. I need to hit up a little more of your shoulders. So left hand will plant. Right arm's making that right angle. Roll over that right shoulder. Plus doing this gives me a chance to catch my breath. All right, I'm gonna roll over, switch sides. So coming all the way onto my belly, right hand comes in, left arm goes long. I'm gonna roll over. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna roll back over. I'm gonna push into that tabletop or straight up into plank, meeting back and down dog. Now, we're gonna set up for warrior one again on that right side. Boom, boom, boom. Arms reach up overhead. Cool. I'm gonna bump my foot out, keeping it a bit more that heel to heel or a little slightly outside of the heel to heel alignment. This is where the fun part comes in. I'm gonna have to angle myself a little funky to see. Humble warrior. Hands will intertwine at your low back, like how we started with doing your little fisties. Boom, low back. Chest falls forward. So I'm trying to get my chest on the inside of my thigh here. Arms reach up overhead. Humble warrior. We still have a nice strong bend in that front leg. I've also heard this called bowing warrior. If your hands are a little slippery like mine are, it gets a little much. You can also do this with a strap or a t-shirt. Release by coming up. Hands will come through to your heart. We're going to step that front foot and back foot together. So you can step forward or back. Shake it out. Give yourself a breather. We're going to do a quick flow through so we can hit that left side. So inhale, arms reach up overhead. Nice and tall. Fold or swan dive forward. Make sure I don't hit the wall behind me. Inhale for my halfway lift. Exhale, plant. Chaturanga through. Down dog. Left side, warrior one. Set up. Boom, boom, Feel myself out here. Cool. Warrior one's kind of my pit stop. Make sure the alignment's feeling good. Then I'm going to go humble warrior. Hands intertwined behind my back as I fold forward. Now, I'm not completely keeping my hands together. That's a personal preference. It puts too much strain on my wrists. This time, instead of stepping back into it, we're going to go boom, high plank, come out, do your flow, down dog. Very nice. Warrior one is our base posture for the next two sequences we're going through. So we want to get boom, boom, set up, warrior one. We're doing a quick sequence on each side. This is where the fun part comes in. Here for a few breaths. I'm going to load my weight into my front leg. The pivot will come out of my back. We're going to go for warrior three. So allow the weight to shift forward. I still have a bend in my front leg. Front foot floats. Gaze is toward the floorboard here. Hands can stay reached up overhead, down by your heart, out by your side. Boom. Flex those back toes. It helps to keep that top leg more active. Good. Woo. Back in warrior one. Very nice. And open up warrior two. So warrior three was that pit stop, funky leg balance. We're going to open up warrior two. Strong bend. So if you need to straighten that front leg because like my quad's cramping a little bit here, it's fine. Tuck that pelvis under. This time your pelvis is going from trying to square up to trying to open up. Keep that rib cage pulled down, shoulders pulled down, gaze ahead. Reverse your warrior set. Left hand's going to slide down, right arm's going to slide up. Boom, you can reach straight up or wrap that left hand behind your back. Side angle. Right hand or forearm can come down. So hand down, reach up. Or forward, trying to make that nice, lovely angle, kind of a bit like a triangle here. It's so pretty. We're going to come up. Boom. We're going to straighten that front leg. Toes are going to pivot forward. So I'm slightly pigeon-toed here. I'm pointing my toes in, heels out. Standing up nice and tall. Wide leg forward fold here. You can fold forward. I prefer to swan dive. Lead with the chest, lead with the chest, lead with the chest. Hands make touchdown. Hands can go towards your ankles. Outside edges of your feet. Peace sign fingers can loop your big toe. Pull yourself down here. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, we're going to just fold a little bit deeper this time. Here, if we were in a typical yoga class, I would suggest if you want to play with tripod, take a few moments to do so. So I'll try and set up to where you guys can see me setting up for tripod. My hands plant down. Hopefully my dog doesn't come in. Top, the very crown of my head makes touchdown. And my knees, whoop. That's what happens when you rush a posture. But also learning how to follow is super helpful. Keep that chin tucked, just roll. So, remember how I was talking about not rushing postures and needing patience? I just demoed that. Be patient. Set yourself up. All right, I'm here. Now that I'm settled, my feet can come to the backs of my knees here. There we go. We're going to pivot back. Now it's just our little pit stop. We're going to go for warrior one on the left side. So we've come from this wide leg forward fold. We're just going to pivot. Now, in a typical yoga class, this has thrown a lot of people off. Did not consider it for the YouTube spectrum. It's probably going to throw you off. You may have to move. Boom, here. Set myself up. Make any adjustments. Boom. And boom. A few breaths here. And we're going to go for that warrior three on the left leg. So, taking the pivot out of the back foot. So that low lunge is our transition, that high lunge, transition posture. Shift the weight. Shift, 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 shift. Start that tilt forward. Hands can be at your heart. That's what I get for looking up. Back foot is flexed. I'm pressing through the earth with my whole foot here. Not like in my tiptoes. I can feel my arch flexing. My hips are trying to scissor together. So I'm trying to squeeze my hips together here. Boom. Boom. Very nice. Warrior two. So again, set up, square up those hips, pull that pelvis under, pull the rib cage down, shoulders relax down, gazes forward. Reverse your warrior. That right hand can slide down or wrap around your low back as you reach that left arm up or even slightly back. Now we don't want that rib cage to flare out here, so pull that rib cage under. Side angle. Arm straight up or reaching towards the front. Very nice. I'm telling myself very nice because I am having a hard time breathing right here. Breathing and talking is much harder than people give it credit for. We're going to pivot out. Option to flow through. Option to meet back in a child's pose. We're going to start, knees together, fold forward. Arms can be reached out in front of you to help push your chest down. Or if you need a little less oomph, allow the elbows to touch down and gravity just to pull you a little deeper. We're going to go for that deeper hip variation where your toes together, knees come out towards the edges of your mat, fold forward. Walk ourselves up to sitting on our heels. Canter hips to the side, right or left, whatever feels better. Legs are going to go out in front. We're going to move a bit more into that stretching part of your practice. So we did a little bit of stretching, not as much as I typically would do. So, especially after doing a lot of that balance work, hamstrings might be feeling it a little. Lift up through the chest and fold forward. Boom. I like to keep my gaze more towards my toes versus down at my knees. That just helps keep my upper back from rounding. And I can still think about length through my spine. Come up. We're going to set up for reclined heroes pose, or I've also heard it reclined warriors. This is a place where that block or bolster can come in super, super handy. Grabbing that block or bolster. You can do one, you can even do 2 blocks. You can stack blocks or books on top of each other. It is coming directly underneath my bum. You do not have to do this variation. We're going for a straddle fold. However, the reason why I like using a block or a bolster is especially if that top part of your foot is really, really tight, it'll help take some pressure off of the top of your foot so you can get a much bigger stretch through your leg. Because sometimes that foot, like if you don't have great ankle mobility and that top of your foot, like you can't bend it all the way back like this, and you're in like that position here, you're going to get a lot more here than you get here. And that's not what we're going for today. So boom, here, and ease yourself back. I like to keep my knees together on this one because I don't feel it puts as much pressure on my knees. I'll come down to my forearms here, allow my head to hang heavy, press my knees down, squeeze my glutes. We're going to be here for at least 6 more breaths. So if you need to sink deeper or make yourself more comfortable, so for me, after that initial lift, and I have more mobile ankles, taking the block out of the way and going all the way back is more comfortable. 3 more breaths. Yes, I have a big lift to my back as well. I'm guessing we're getting something delivered. Will is not happy right now. Give me 1 sec. You can hold this here if you need to, or start to back out. Hey! Willow! Chill out. Come here. Oh, come here. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. This way, let's go. Your public needs you. Back out as you feel comfortable. I had to distract her. We did just get something delivered. She is not happy. My apologies if you were super zoned out right there. So, come out of that posture. Boom. We're going to bring ourselves into that butterfly. So, feet are together. Heels are in towards your bum. Fold forward here. As you need more, you can gently press the knees down. Or, I like to do the trick where I put essentially my elbows in my knee pits. So as I fold forward, I can leverage my body down. Sometimes I have to shift them a little higher up into my mid-thigh. She turned on our Sonos by barking. Just a sec. And come on. Bump those heels out. Wiggle around as you need to. Fold forward here. 6 to 8 to even 10 breaths, just depending on what you need today. Anybody hear her whining in the background? Come up. Now, you can come to laying on your back. You can come to a comfortable seat. Whatever's going to feel better for you. We are going to start rounding out our practice today. Don't look at me so accusatorily. Brat. Well, look here. Hey, come here. So when I say rounding out your practice, I mean taking whatever feels restful for you to do now, because I know most of us have another full day to get into, whether it's homeschooling, yard work, work, stress baking. We have a day that we're going on to from here. So if you need a complete chill out, zone out time because you've barricaded yourself in your bedroom for this, cool, take it. Just focus on your breathing. Focus on whatever intention you set. Hopefully my dog doesn't bark before I wrap this up. Or if you need to, okay, I moved, I'm good, I need to get going because I've got more stuff. That's cool too. Just breathe. Allow your body to process what you just did. You can be sitting or laying down, whatever your preference is. And I'm going to close practice by bringing my hands together. I'm going to bring them to my forehead for kind thoughts, my mouth for kind words, my heart for good intentions. And I want to specifically thank the nurses today because I believe today is National Nurses Day. Thank you for letting me guide your practice. Come eerily towards the screen. Yes.